Hello and welcome back to the CT Tech Cheat Code audio series. All right, so we're going to dive into episode number 3. So, this episode is focused on protocols. So, we're going to learn them or become a button pusher. Now, I know that title is going to go ahead and trigger some of y'all. So, you know what? Just stay with me and listen to the entire episode, okay? So we know protocols is a huge thing. I mean, an entire TikTok where there was a huge amount of response because one radiologist had commented on it. So I'm going to link that TikTok episode in the show notes so you can go ahead and take a look at it. So protocols, these are your foundation because without it, you're just winging it. Okay. So the way to be the go-to, you want to be respected, know your damn protocols. Okay. Now, that's hard to do when you don't have radiologist guidance, you don't have a protocol book, but I can tell you a large percentage of facilities around the country do have a protocol book in the department or even protocols like online on your shared drive, for your institution. So make sure you review those, you know what you're doing. Protocols on your scanner should be up to date, things like that. Okay. So your protocols are your foundation. That is how you're going to go ahead and make sure you do the correct exam, matching the correct order and what is, ordered in the patient's chart. Okay. So, what I want you to learn, especially if you're a beginner, protocols can be very overwhelming because there's a shit ton of protocols we have to know in CT. Totally agree with that statement. Okay. So, I'm going to give you some tips so you can learn these quickly and you know what to focus on while you're training. Okay. So, what should you be prioritizing when you're a new technologist? So, the most common basic exams, so that's your head without contrast, your PE studies, your routine abdomen and pelvises with contrast, whether it's oral, just IV, without, doesn't really matter. Your CTAs, so PE studies considered a CTA, like your CTA head and necks for stroke protocol, your CT perfusions, trauma protocols if you work in a trauma hospital or you do trauma scans. Those are the basic ones that you should be prioritizing. Now, how are you going to get there? Is by practice, repetition, and just writing things down. Okay, because with that it comes experience, and then you're going to make sure that you have a rhythm and work a little bit faster while pumping out quality exams. Okay, so those are the exams, those are the protocols that I feel as a beginner you need to master, you need to prioritize, and make sure that you hardwire those because that is the bread and butter of CT. Okay, there's a lot more other exams that come into the mix, but I think when you start, you have to know those because those are the most commonly ordered exams. Okay, so let me give you some tips so that you can, just ace your training and just feel confident. So, like I said, repetition and practice are like the number one. Okay. Like study your protocols, look at your protocol book, take a notebook, write some notes down, write some cheat sheets, create some visuals if you need it. Make sure you look at exams and images and things like that. So those will help you just master these protocols, and just continuing to do them over and over and over will make you very, very efficient and an expert tech. And of course, at the end of the day, that's what we want. Okay. Making sure your patient centering is correct for those exams. I can't stress that enough. And I stress it in a lot of my videos, a lot of my TikTok videos. That is super important. Okay. Now, when lead techs stop helping when they know you didn't prepare. So make sure you come prepared. Now, I know I've had new techs in the past that come in very cocky thinking they know everything about CT. And then when you put them to the test, they don't know shit. So do not be this technologist, okay? Be open to learn, be open to constructive criticism in a positive way, okay? Or constructive criticism to make sure you don't make a mistake that'll harm the patient, okay? Be coachable. That's more important. Be coachable, because when you are those things and you open yourself up to improve and grow, that's how you're going to be a badass tech, okay? And everybody's going to look for you to help them out when they are stuck. So that's one of the things why, like lead techs or techs that are educating people, they stop helping when they notice that you're cocky, you think you know everything, and you feel like you don't need help when you really, really do. So don't be that technologist, okay? That's just going to harm not only your patient, but it's going to harm your career. So I always say just be open. You know what? There's lots of times I don't get everything correctly. I really don't. And some people have to tell me about myself. And I've been in this industry for 22 years. And you know what? You got to put your ego aside. You got to humble yourself, leave your ego at the door. You got to be coachable. You got to go ahead and just accept that constructive criticism, even though, you may not like it, but it's to make sure that you do a good job. It's to make sure that you become an experienced tech, you know what you're doing, and it doesn't harm the patient. Because at the end of the day, that's what's important. Okay. So hopefully all these principles make sense. Okay. And usually, if you don't understand your protocols, make sure you get your radiologist involved, get your supervisor manager involved. Okay. They usually have peer review. I think it's like every 3 months or every month or something like that. It depends on the frequency, where you get to review images and learn how to improve protocols and things like that. Now, all these things inside my CT Blueprint course, I teach. Okay. So I give you just kind of clear, just a crash course on how to navigate your training and become a badass. I give you some really simple principles and just to kind of learn by them. Okay. I give you a lot of guidance in this blueprint course. I kind of made it just a crash course so that you can learn the principles and understand them and just be able to apply them in your training. So enroll now and stop looking clueless, like you don't know anything, because you do. Okay. Link is in the show notes for the CT Blueprint course and that those TikTok videos I mentioned in the beginning. Okay. So hopefully this episode was insightful. And in episode 4, we're going to talk about contrast. So I will see you in episode 4.